Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Mohammed Ali Mir and I'm from the Office of Advancement at LUMS. Welcome to another podcast today where we will be discussing the MS in Power Engineering and Smart Grids program. I'm joined today by Professor Nauman, who is a professor of practice in the Electrical Engineering Department. He is also the head of the NICL and a director of Energy and Power Systems in Research Cluster. Assalamu alaikum.
Maalaikum salam, Ali. How are you?
I'm perfectly fine. So let's start off with why Sabasi. For a person who is doing this program, why should they join LUMS and do this program?
When we talk about engineering excellence, it is a term, excellence, which is associated with LUMS in general. The School of Science and Engineering, since its inception, has a foundation of excellence in engineering and related areas. We've been running a successful program of electrical engineering for a very long time, and throughout this journey, we've had interaction with the industry. In power sector, we've had multiple engagements that have proven very successful, and I think last year is when we decided that it is a good time for us to launch a focused, concentrated program in power engineering and smart grids. It has a very strong applied focus. It's founded on deep theoretical research in this area and applied to our evolving power sector in Pakistan and evolving energy and power domains throughout the world.
When you talk about the highlights of this program, and you also mentioned industry partners, can you highlight some of the industry partners that we have in this program?
Sure. Pakistan, the power sector is inherently a monopoly, and we fortunately have a tight agreement with the entire power sector in Pakistan.
The entire power sector?
Entire power sector, and this includes all the entities from the regulator to the transmission company, to the power dispatch planning and forecasting and all of those activities. We are in partnership with many of the distribution companies. We work closely with the vertically integrated power sector entity, K Electric. And this is not all. I mean, we talk about the segment of the Pakistani population that is serviced by the grid and the challenges that are faced that everybody sort of is aware of. We also work very closely with the segments of society that are not being serviced by the grid. And we have about 50 to 80 million people in Pakistan that are either not connected to the grid or are not being serviced by the grid in an appreciable manner. And that renders their effectiveness of contributing to the economy hampered. And what we believe is that provision of energy in this day and age is absolutely synonymous to their productivity and becoming a contributing member of the society. So we work in those areas as well, and we work with various industries in the renewable energy sector, primarily in solar, but we also work with wind and with micro hydro. So it sort of covers the spectrum in the power engineering and smart grids.
So since this is a very new program at LUMS, can you tell us more about the structure of this program? Any of the major course electives?
So as a degree program, this is the first year that we're launching it. But in terms of its roots in LUMS, it is as old as the engineering program itself. Previously, the subjects and the research was being conducted under the general outlay of the electrical engineering department. Under power engineering and smart grids, we have carved out a niche area for professionals in this domain and also for new aspirants who are graduating and are looking to hone their skills specifically in this area. We do require a light core, which is concentrated on the power sector, and then we have a host of electives that would allow them to choose a particular thrust area within the general power domain. So again, that's the overall structure in terms of the overall strengths that are available. We work with the power sector in terms of generation, transmission, distribution. We work in the upgrade and the decoupling of the power sector in the new electricity markets regime which is coming into Pakistan. We've been involved inherently in the design of the program for Pakistan, comparing it with the programs that exist in other countries in the world. This program allows the enrolled engineers to look at not only what the final structure of the program is, but to gain valuable insights on how this design came into being. We also work in the emerging areas of microgrids and storage technologies, and in terms of load management and forecasting, and how AI, ML, and big data plays an important role in everything related to the power sector. The majority of the focus is from an applied nature, where whatever you learn in the classrooms is supplemented by work in the lab, either formally through some of the associated labs or informally through engaging with the various research groups that exist in this domain.
You said that individuals who are looking to hone their skills when they're in this department. In your mind, what is the ideal profile for this department?
What we're looking for are people who are inherently interested in the engineering side of things. Again, when I talk about an ideal candidate, he or she would be somebody with an engineering background and a deep interest in energy and power related areas. It doesn't mean that the program itself requires a prerequisite to be an engineering undergraduate per se. But of course, the graduate programs that require the core courses that require a certain level of understanding of what the energy and power domain entail, they would have to cover it up. So if you ask me what an ideal profile would be, it would be an electrical engineer or a related engineering discipline, and it doesn't have to be electrical engineering, as long as they have an inherent interest in energy and power related passion. Yeah.
And what are the types of researches you are conducting in this department?
So in this particular domain, we have multiple faculty members with their own niche area. So I'll talk about the core areas, and there is the power systems domain. And we have faculty members that are inherently interested in carrying out work with the power sector in the power systems domain. And this involves operations, planning, design of the power systems in an integrated grid that is already existing. We work with the existing grid in enhancing their operational efficiency, in looking at the future direction in which the grid is moving. We also work in new grid architectures, which basically mean that in addition to the grid which already exists, there are, again, those areas where we need to cover new territory, and what would the new grid architectures look like, and how we can integrate it so that the planning phase takes the grid from its existing state to a new desired state in the future. There are research areas that work completely in microgrid areas, and these are ground-up development of resources to provide energy and power to people who do not have a steady access. And it is designed in such a way where the structure is not rendered useless when the grid actually comes to those localities, but we can have one or more interconnect points so the developed architecture can then continue to be operational. When we talk about people who do not have access to electricity, we're not talking about providing them with electricity for convenience. We're talking about providing them access to energy and power that goes beyond subsistence, and that can run their productive loads and enhance their efficiencies and reduce waste, and allow them to be able to generate revenues by modes that can more than pay for the infrastructure and the provisioning of energy. In essence, we work in domains of creating energy microeconomies. There are associated areas. We talk about demand-side management, we talk about monitoring. There are faculty members at LUMS that work in the data domain, in energy informatics, that create that infrastructure that can gather data around the usage and the usage patterns and derive intelligence from that for design of new systems. We talk about new age battery storage, which is taking on an enhanced sense of importance, not only in areas where we have intermittent sources, but also in grid-connected regions for more stability and higher efficiency of operation. We work with different forms of renewable energies, from the design of the generating sources to harnessing energy from the different types of sources, including solar, wind, hydrokinetics, biogas, and also a hybrid of most of these technologies.
That is so interesting, and I kind of wish that I had done an electrical engineering degree in for my studies. But for anyone who wants to apply for this program in LUMS, I will tell you all about the admission criteria.
So Ali, before you go into the admission criteria, I mean, it's good you mentioned, I mean, not having an engineering background, there are still ways of integrating with the program. बहुत सारा काम जो हम यहाँ पे करते हैं वो inherently applied nature का है. So deep theoretical research अपनी जगह पर, but we make sure that we are looking at the locally relevant problems and even at an international level, try to understand and solve the problems for the people. 6 के करीब हमारे spin-offs हैं जो यहाँ से अब commercially अपने operations को run कर रहे हैं. There's a lot of room for engagement for people who actually bring in the other dimensions that make these startups a success. So if, for example, you want to be engaged, the opportunities exist, and we would more than welcome people to come and engage with us.
So how would someone take advantage of these opportunities?
In this, हमारे पास research clusters भी हैं, labs भी हैं, और हमारे पास LUMS Energy Institute as a center भी है. और उधर से हमें जो जिस तरह की opportunities हम pursue कर रहे होते हैं, हमें एक डीप टेक्निकल फाउंडेशन के अलावा एक कमर्शियल बिजनेस प्लान की डेवलपमेंट ऑन टॉप करना मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट है फॉर मैनी ऑफ द ग्रांट्स एंड द फंडिंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ दैट वी गो आफ्टर. जो हमारे स्टार्टअप्स हैं उनको फंडिंग रेज करने के लिए बिजनेस प्लान की डेवलपमेंट है, एक पूरा बिजनेस केस डेवलप करना है, नॉट ओनली फॉर देयर ओन एंटिटी but also for the people that they are servicing. So it creates a business value to the end customer as well. Insights into that, new models, which probably are the domain of a good business program. वहाँ से अगर हम यहाँ पे क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन कराते हैं तो बहुत सारी सिनर्जीज क्रिएट हो जाती हैं. हमारा आइडियल प्रोग्राम के अंदर जो लोग आएंगे, they will have an option to go deep technically, or also create a blend with the business school or
as
business
well as
courses.
an administrative side.
Exactly. Yeah. So operations एक अलग पूरी dimension है जिसको वो cover कर सकते हैं.
For people who are applying for this program, you need to have a minimum of 2.4 CGPA, and moving on, you also have to give the tests for the performance on the admission test. You need to give the Sabasi specific subject test, which will have a focus on power engineering and smart grids, and you will also need to give the LUMS graduate admission test. You will also need to have 2 letters of recommendation as well as a interview call up if you are called up. Do you have any opinions on this?
So again, we're looking for people, the inherent ingredient that we're looking for
Is passion.
And interest in this area. Because it is a technology-driven field, we do require a certain level of competence in those related domains as well. The key gauge is the person's capability to adapt to this program and become a productive member of the society. Interview highlights that particular aspect. So even with all these criteria, we still want to interact with the people. We want to handpick the people who are coming and joining the program, not only so that they can succeed, but they can also interact with their peers and contribute well to the others in the same class and their peers.
Well, we do have another specific test for international students who do not have access to the LUMS admission test. We can ask them to give us the GRE or the GMAT exam.
Yeah, GRE is primarily the one that we're looking for in lieu of the tests, and the reason primarily is that these tests are conducted locally, And for people who are applying from outside of Pakistan, the travel dates might not be convenient. So even if they give GRE, we will take that as a substitute for our tests. Again, international students for us are a key domain that we're trying to inculcate in the program. They bring in their own rich experience from outside of Pakistan domain, and that would allow the students to look at the overall picture more holistically. So yes, we would encourage the students internationally to apply for the program, and anything that we can do to help in easing the process, we'll be able to do that.
लम्स एनर्जी इंस्टीट्यूट के बारे में आपने बात की थी, आप लोग क्या बता सकते हैं हमें कि हमारे पास क्या क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं यहाँ पर लोगों को प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपीरियंस देने की, बिकॉज इंजीनियरिंग इज़ अ वेरी हैंड्स ऑन सब्जेक्ट. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपीरियंस डू यू गिव दीज स्टूडेंट्स?
लम्स के अंदर जो हमारा द जनरल स्ट्रक्चर इज दैट द सेंटर्स आर इनहेरेंटली बियॉन्ड द बाउंड्रीज ऑफ द स्कूल इटसेल्फ. So they are transdisciplinary by nature, and LUMS Energy Institute looks at the power sector and the energy and power system domain, and looks at it not only from a technology side but also from a policy side, from a regulatory side, from a business perspective, and from economic side. And we try to understand the problem more holistically. For us to confine ourselves in the domain of electrical engineering doesn't mean the problem itself does not go beyond that particular domain. And in general, we see the power sector is plagued by a lot of issues that are financial in nature, that are sometimes societal in nature. So we need to involve the other people. So when the students who will be working in this master's program and interacting with faculty members that bring in those perspectives, then they would be able to look at it more holistically and be able to understand when they go out in the practical field how they can be a better contributing member of the organization that they're associated with.
Since this is a new degree in LUMS, what is the value of this degree within LUMS, and moreover, what are the employment prospects that a student will have once he or she has done this degree?
So I think of it as 3 distinct opportunities that the student will possess after this program. They can complete this program and opt to go for a PhD program in that particular domain. So it would be a continuation of their education towards a PhD. Within LUMS, we offer a PhD program that's 100% funded, no fee structure. We actually pay stipend that varies. Internationally, this is generally the norm. PhD programs are fully funded. It is our anticipation that people who would want to go for this route would work in research-intensive domains and should be able to publish maybe one, maybe more papers out of the work that they have conducted. The second option is for them to go for the job market after they've graduated. For us, there are direct jobs available in the energy and power sector domain. They are the traditional monopoly-based power sector within Pakistan. There are also now an increasing number of companies that are providing power services.
Exactly.
And these could be to the private sector, to industries, to commercial areas. These are independent power producers that are integrated with the government setup, but they are independent entities.
And there are also a lot of companies that are partnered up with LUMS as recruitment partners.
Exactly.
And they literally cherry pick people from that company.
Across the entire domain of the sector, they're there. Then there are companies that are working in the new energy domain. So those also are looking for people. Inherently, the power structure in Pakistan is such that majority of the industry would have their own associated captive power plants as well.
Exactly.
So those are other opportunities where the entity itself, for example, textile mills, would be focused on producing their products, but to enable them, they would require services of power engineers to run the setup so they can do their work without any worries around provisioning of power from the grid. Third option is actually the entrepreneurship option.
Okay.
So energy and power has seen a lot of interest globally. And there are deep tech startups that are there for provisioning of energy and power. And this is not only, again, for the people who do not have access to it, but it's also a change in paradigm, even in the developed world, where, for example, newer areas of application like electric vehicles have posed challenges on the existing grid infrastructure in terms of the charging infrastructure, its planning, its provisioning, the kind of loads it's going to put on the grid, how to manage it by the proper placement or by proper scheduling or a combination or maybe any other variant thereof. Storage solutions, again, is a domain in itself. From an energy perspective, how do we make it economically viable? What kind of services it can provide? The safety, regulatory, standardization aspects around it. Again, at LUMS, not just the labs, but we also have an EV R&D center, which has been created. So that ties in nicely with our MS program.
So we had a electric rickshaw in LUMS as well. So we saw that roaming around in LUMS. What was all that about?
So as I mentioned, we have had 6 startups from LUMS. We also worked on the national EV policy from the LEI, LUMS Energy Institute platform. While we were working on the policy, we realized that policy is just a piece of paper unless we create an ecosystem that can utilize the benefits that are put in and can take the policy forward from an implementation perspective. When we talk about electric vehicles, Pakistan is different. We are a developing country. And for us, the major segment is the smaller vehicles, 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and small 4-wheelers. That's the bulk of the automotive industry in Pakistan. Technologically, it's an area where we believe we can make inroads much faster and better than our competitors around the world. And the developed countries do not have this as their focus segment. So the developed world is focused on 4-wheelers, larger 4-wheelers, SUVs, buses, trucks, whereas those are sort of the niche segments in Pakistan. They have their value,
Yes.
but for us, the bulk of the automotive sector is these smaller vehicles. And in that, we realize that we talk about EVs as if it's an integrated singular unit. It's actually a vertically integrated industry which has major areas of research embedded into it. And if we break it up, it actually comprises of at least 6 different areas that have to be individually focused on. So at LUMS, what we did was we created a consortium of companies. We allowed those companies to work on their strengths, enhance their existing areas to include those domains that are EV related into it. Out of the EV segments, for us, rickshaw, 3-wheeler being a commercial vehicle provided the best value. So we partnered with Sasgar for the EV manufacturing part. They are working with us to modify their offerings to include a version that is designed to be an EV. Not necessarily retrofitting what they already have, but designing from ground up a vehicle that is suitable to be used as an EV. We then worked with GFC, General Fan Company. They already manufacture motors.
Exactly.
So we asked them that if you want, there is this new area coming in, and the efficiency of the motors that are required is much higher. And if you go into that, you can not only service a new area which is coming in, it'll also enhance your existing work that you're doing. So the spillover benefits directly tie into your own industry. You do not, for you, the entry point is already there. You already work in that domain. For electronics manufacturing, we worked with Microtech Industries. They're already an electronics manufacturing company in Pakistan. For motor control unit and peripheral electronics, we partnered with them. For motive battery manufacturing, lithium-ion based, there was no existing setup that could take up that particular task. So we created a new company. We want to work in swappable batteries, not fixed batteries.
I understand.
And this sort of decouples the vehicles from the energy value chain. There is no swappable battery concept in Pakistan per se at that level. So we created a new company from LUMS for managing the infrastructure around swappable batteries. The sixth area is composite materials. So again, that's an area which is a niche area. At this point in time, we've not partnered with anybody, but again, it's an area that's still open, and it's an absolute mandatory requirement for EV industry to flourish in a country. At this point in time, there is a fringe benefit around efficiency. We can still move ahead, and that's how we are doing it, but this allows the structure. So the electric rickshaws that you saw is not just our effort. It's at least 5 companies putting in their resources together and working together to make it happen. The pilot is currently running in Lahore and Multan with swappable batteries, and there is a whole model around it on how it can benefit everybody in the value chain.
Professor Nauman, you talked about the LUMS Energy Institute. I have read a report by the LUMS Energy Institute where they stated that Pakistan is actually generating more, overproducing electricity right now, but we still have problems like load shedding and other problems. What is your view on this, and can students who do this degree in LUMS, can they find a solution for this problem?
Sure. Again, so you brought up a very interesting point, and previously people used to say that in sort of a general conversation, we should not discuss religion or politics. Everybody considers them to be an expert in the area.
Exactly.
And generally the discussion would become a heated discussion.
I understand.
I think we should add the third area of power and energy wars that our country faces into that domain. It touches everybody.
I understand.
Everybody has their own view on what's causing it. And think of it as a major problem, a big problem that is multifaceted, multidimensional. And generally, when people talk about it subjectively, they talk about only one aspect that might be highlighted at any given point in time. This program is actually going to provide insights on the entire structure. I don't say that everybody is going to come into this program, no matter what courses they take, they'll be able to understand it completely, but the opportunity exists. If that is something that they really want to understand, the program at LUMS offers those opportunities where they can look at it in a more holistic manner. They can understand the intricacies that are around technology, that are around the financial planning, that are around contracts, that are around infrastructure growth within the company, and the various players, how they interact within this domain, and what are the various interests that people have selectively in different areas, and how it creates opportunities of arbitrage for some, and benefits in some areas might actually render the overall system at a less than optimal situation.
I understand.
So you talked about a very particular thing where we have over-generation capacity. And again, that's just generation is one area. We need the capability to be able to transmit and distribute it to all the users. That's a challenge. That is an existing challenge that the government is working on. Then there is also a financial consideration where even if you produce, do you really want to provide electricity to everybody? There are people who are willing to use electricity but not pay for it. So there is a social aspect to it. There's a socio-economic aspect to it. So all of these, sort of get together and then create an overall situation where people see the symptoms and they try to match it to maybe simplistically to one side of the problem. And again, you need to understand it more holistically.
But there are many overarching problems that lead to this issue.
Yeah, and again, it's not just understanding what those problems are, but a holistic approach towards a comprehensive solution that needs to be thought out and worked upon. And there are challenges around that as well. But challenges are what engineers feed on.
Exactly.
Engineers inherently are problem solvers.
Exactly.
And power engineering and smart grids full of problems.
I understand.
So golden pasture.
Gold mine for our
exactly.
students.
Yeah.
Funding can be a big issue for people who want to continue their education. So let me just tell you that at LUMS, we offer 7 merit scholarships, in which 4 merit scholarships are at 100%, while the rest of the 3 are at 60%. We also offer LUMS interest-free loans. And Mr. Nauman, I also want to ask, how can a student become a research assistant or a teacher's assistant? Can you please tell us about that?
Sure.
And any of the benefits as well?
Sure. And again, in designing the MS program in power engineering and smart grids, our core thrust was how can we make it a viable program for everybody. And in that, we worked hard, and part of the delay in launching the program has been attaining these merit scholarships. They are there, and they are going to definitely help the students who are going to come in. And merit means absolute merit. So it's not a relative merit, but people need to be absolutely good in terms of getting these scholarships. In addition to that, loan is another option that LUMS offers in general to the students, and they're also available to our program entrants. Two specific opportunities that you mentioned are department-specific opportunities that exist. When we offer our courses, we are always in search of brilliant students, and we hope that our MS program would have a basic ingredient of brilliant students who will be coming in. And these help the instructors in carrying out the various instruments throughout the course and engaging with students in a productive manner. So those would be teaching assistants. So these are graduate teaching assistants, and they are provided a part-time opportunity of employment within LUMS. This may not cover the entire cost of the program, but it does provide enough support to substantially reduce the overall financial burden on the students. RShips is a much bigger opportunity, and that entails work by the faculty members, the research labs, the research clusters, and the institute to work on different industry-sponsored projects or funded projects where they have multiple opportunities. How big a stipend the students will be able to get would depend on both their skills and the kind of opportunity that exists. And many a times, the support is enough to cover the entire cost and beyond of the program itself. But again, that is not something that is a guaranteed opportunities, but the way the structure is going and the way we have the projects, we are in search of brilliant students who can come and supplement the work that we are doing here.
Professor Nauman, अगर हम लोग बात करते हैं about the company, the influx of companies coming into Pakistan, into the energy sector, आपके दिमाग में what is the future of this program?
अली, हमारा जो ये प्रोग्राम है, इसका मेजर थ्रस्ट अगेन इंडस्ट्री के साथ इंटरेक्शन के थ्रू बना हुआ है. वी हैव डिज़ाइंड इट इन सच अ वे कि जो हमारे इंडस्ट्री के प्रोफेशनल्स हैं वो इसके अंदर पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं, अपनी डिग्री और अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग और नॉलेज और लर्निंग को एनहांस कर सकते हैं और अपनी जॉब से डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड डोमेन्स के अंदर एक्सपर्टीज़ हासिल कर सकते हैं. जो एनर्जी और पावर है वो रहेगी तो सही और इवॉल्व भी कर रही है, विच मीन्स के नए चैलेंजेस भी आएंगे और जो साउंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग है उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट भी है. फॉर अस इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी एंड पावर is an enabler for almost everything these days. और जब तक किसी भी एरिया के अंदर एक्टिविटी चल रही है, उन सर्विसेज को प्रोवाइड करने की, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को सपोर्ट करने वाले इंजीनियर्स की ज़रूरत रहेगी. सो दैट इज़ द सॉर्ट ऑफ, आई मीन, अगर मैंने उसको एक जनरल तरीके से देखना हो तो उन लोगों की रिक्वायरमेंट रहेगी जब तक कोई भी एक्टिविटी इस डोमेन से रिलेटेड रहती है. अगर हम आप फ्यूचर में जाके किसी अनफोर्सीन तरीके से कोई नई फॉर्म ऑफ एनर्जी दरियाफ्त कर लेते हैं जो कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से भी ज़्यादा एवर प्रेजेंट है, यूबिक्विटस है, तो हो सकता है कि हमें ज़रूरत ना आ रहे, बट नज़र नहीं आता. आई मीन इवन रिसर्च में थियोरेटिकल रिसर्च दैट लुक्स मे बी 100 years in the future अभी तक ऐसी कोई चीज़ नज़र नहीं आती जो इसको obsolete करा दे.
The future is bright for electricity and
बिल्कुल सही.
power engineering and smart grids at LUMS.
That's how it seems, yes.
So before I conclude this podcast, do you have any advice for the students who are hesitant to join this program?
Again, मेरे ख्याल में if you have a thirst for knowledge,
And a passion
if you have a passion to solve problems of people that can enable them, if you want to do something that by the time you reach my age, you feel that you've done something productive in this one life, one chance that we are given, herein lies an opportunity. Maybe I've exaggerated it too much, but I'm speaking from the heart. Herein lies opportunities. Just to re-quote a number that I'd already said before, पाकिस्तान में 5 करोड़ से 8 करोड़ तक लोग हैं जिन तक एनर्जी की सही एक्सेस ही नहीं है, इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी पावर की एक्सेस ही नहीं है. आएँ इकट्ठे मिलके हम इसके अंदर तब्दीली लाने की कोशिश करें. Let's be those agents of change that can understand what the problem is so that we can solve it right, inshallah.
Beautiful words, Professor Nauman, and thank you so much for joining us. Let me just tell you about the deadlines for this program. The deadline for the MS Power Engineering and Smart Grids program is the 16th of April. And if you need any other details about this program, you can always send an email at admissions@lums.edu.pk. Thank you so much, Professor Nauman, for joining us and having a very informative session with us.
Thank you so much, Ali, for taking time out. It was a wonderful experience.
Inshallah, we will be seeing each other again.
Sure, inshallah.